To most people, Cape York Peninsula, the tip of the continent, is the northernmost end of Australia. But beyond the mainland are places that are the forgotten islands, the scattered archipelagos of the Torres Strait. It was on one of these islands that Captain Cook looked towards the south, raised the flag and claimed all he had discovered for the British Empire. But behind him, he ignored 138 islands, which would have become one of the most unusual parts of a new nation. Geographically, the islands of the Torres Strait are very close. The local capital, Thursday Island, is less than 40 kilometres from the tip of the mainland. But when you make that short hop across the Endeavour Strait, you might as well be crossing an ocean. It really is a different world from the Australia most of us know. The history of the islands is written in the faces of the people. You can see the original islanders mixed with Polynesians who arrived with missionaries from the South Seas, Aborigines, Papua New Guineans, and the fortune hunters who arrived later, Malays, Chinese, Indonesians, Japanese, and Europeans. With such a mixture of races and cultures, it's surprising that any of the original society remains. But when you travel away from TI to the furthermost limits of Australian territory, you can still find a lifestyle based on the old culture. The Murray Islands, they're at the far northern tip of the Great Barrier Reef and at the far eastern end of the Torres Strait. The Murrays are the tips and walls of extinct volcanoes, spectacular outcrops of rock surrounded by coral reefs. They're like nothing anywhere else in Australia. Massive streams of solidified lava still hold the shape that was set when molten rock hit the sea. For natural beauty, these islands match any of the better-known names along the Great Barrier Reef coast. These tropical islands are very much an unknown part of Australia. Very few people have heard of them, even fewer have visited. They're considered the richest islands in the Torres Straits. The volcanoes gave the islanders exceptionally fertile soil. And the surrounding seas provide ridiculously easy fishing. The Murray Islands are practically storybook illustrations of the easy life in a tropical paradise. But before you're tempted to pack up and make a move, you have to realise that this is one of the world's most exclusive beachfronts. For a start, there's some of the most remote beaches in Australia, and then every part of the three Murray Islands are reserved strictly for residents only. The only way to visit is at the invitation of an islander, with the permission of the community chairman, the modern-day chief. And the condition of your stay will be a firm departure date.
It's generally acknowledged that of all the islands in the Torres Strait, this one, Murray, is the most traditional. But you don't have to look very far here to find signs that the 20th century has well and truly arrived.
The old-style homes of bamboo and palm fronds have become rarities, in favour of modern materials like fibro and weatherboard. Fish being prepared for the evening meal is frozen solid by one of the many freezers on the island, powered by one of several generators. And dressing up for a special occasion means city-bought clothes.
Run!
But it's an inter-island school sports day that shows you this faraway exotic place really is part of today's Australia. The games they play, the uniforms, and the way it's run is what you'll see on any school sports day anywhere in the country. But to the islanders, days like this are far more significant than a simple school children's competition.
And this is like our Olympic, eh? You know, and they get carried away. Here, the whole family get excited about it. And
Reverend Ted Mosby, an Anglican priest, is with a visiting team which made an 8-hour journey from York Island.
what this sort of day does to communities like Murray and York Island is that it brings us together.
But Ted Mosby is worried that days like this and cooperation between the islands are becoming less important than the symbols of progress.
When things such as radio and television videos coming, this is big influence, you know, and aeroplanes coming in and people have contacts with southern cities and things like that. People going away, living down south, coming back with different minds, and so these changes happen this way.
The hope for the future of the Torres Strait Islanders preserving their lifestyle lies in the remnants of their culture. It's very different from when the first white men saw island dancing. Over time, it's adapted to include influence from the South Pacific, and the costumes have changed to accommodate 19th century European concepts of modesty. The dancers, including Murray Island chairman Ron Day, see no contradiction in performing old steps to the beat of a kerosene drum. The islanders see no need to discard modern trappings when they enjoy their traditional culture. And even though much has changed in 150 years of outside influence, their dancing is still a powerful expression of individuality and part of what makes them different from the rest of Australia. Australians would turn a school sports day into a 3-day festival. But the York Islanders had to make the trip worthwhile to justify that 8-hour boat journey each way. Visits like this used to be frequent events. But islands which are becoming self-sufficient in virtually everything don't seem to feel the need to stay so closely in touch with their distant next-door neighbours. The communities are drifting apart. This family festival used to involve 4 islands. This year, only 2 took part. With the departure of their visitors, the Murray Islanders slipped easily back into their normal, unhurried routine. Living on the remote and beautiful islands of the Torres Strait can be delightfully easy. The natural gifts are so plentiful that even rich supplies of food can be virtually ignored. When I first saw a dark stain in the shallows, it looked like seaweed, but the island children were delighted to show me what it really was. Millions of sardine-like fish swim right around the island in an endless shoal throughout the year. There are so many large fish that the sardines are considered hardly worth catching, except as part of a game that proved irresistible. The peaceful, almost dreamlike quality of the island seems a long way from the troubles of the rest of the world. But the tranquility overlays a past of violent ritual and primitive beliefs. Even this century, the natives were much feared as headhunters, pirates, and ritual cannibals. The Murray Islands were the strongholds of ancient religions and cults. One of the islands where that violent past can still be seen is the island of Ware. It's a place of stark beauty, a lagoon formed by a collapsed volcano. The attractive beachfront, lined with hundreds of coconut palms, is rarely used for anything but brief fishing trips.
Yeah, it's paradise unspoiled.
Wilfred Tapau is one of the exceptions to the general rule that locals will not visit the place known as the Island of Evil. His 8 years in the Australian Navy and a life on the mainland before coming home has given Wilfred a sceptical view. But stories about supernatural dangers are still taken seriously by many islanders. An evil god was said to have lived in a cave high among the pinnacles of eroded rock. From his vantage point, he would preside over ceremonies of sexual excess and ritual cannibalism. A walk into the shallow caves revealed old ceremonial shells and scattered human bones. The cult of Wyatt was still going strong well into the supposedly Christianised 20th century. The end finally came as late as 1928, when a white schoolteacher snatched the idol from his lair, stuffed it into a bag, and sent it off to the Queensland Museum in Brisbane. Wyatt is now reduced to the indignity of life in a cupboard, but he's again under the control of the Murray Islanders, who have the final say on whether the museum can place him on public show or even reveal him to anyone. It took us more than 3 months to gain permission for a visit. To see Wyatt with his necklace and decorations of human bones is to believe the evil reputation of the cult that worshipped him on Ware Island. The Murray Islanders today seem happy enough with the old god's imprisonment. At least they know he's being well cared for. Or perhaps it's felt that something with such a powerful reputation should remain under lock and key. At the time of the original seizure, the Islanders protested strongly and tried sorcery to get him back. Wyatt suffered the same fate as the vast majority of ethnic artefacts from the Torres Straits, taken from the Islanders by white men. Very few of them remain in place. Many were destroyed or confiscated for religious reasons. Others were traded or stolen for their value to collectors. The old men are concerned that their generation may be the last to value their culture. George Passy was one of the first in the Straits to receive a university education, and he's watched the fading of the old ways with deep sadness.
It is a bad thing. Present time, I think, if nothing is done, culture will be lost. And the young people, the younger people will lose their culture and their identity. You can't turn the clock back. But civilization, higher development or something like that, like tourism and things like that, you see, will destroy the islands. And then it will destroy the culture.
It's very good for island, People get money out of, tourists spend money.
Philemon Pearson is the elder statesman of another Torres Strait community, Sioux Island, where the attitude towards development is far more optimistic. Philemon's so enthusiastic that he'd happily get out of his home to help move things along.
That's what they tell me. That's why I've been telling them. I said, well, I got my building here. If your tourists want it, you can buy the building. So I go somewhere else.
At 86 years old, he's a living legend. It's not many people who have memorial halls dedicated to them while they're still very much alive. And another monument to the old man is the town plan, which he copied from cities on the mainland. It's only a village, yet the streets are set out on a strict grid pattern, with every tree carefully spaced and every street fully signposted. None of it's really necessary in a village small enough to fit inside the boundaries of an average-sized caravan park. Despite the modern appearance, the Sioux Islanders are very conscious of the past. At the island school, a traditional feast eaten off plates woven from palm fronds is an outdoor lesson in island culture.
My main aim is for the kids to realize that the olden days people, they do not use forks, knives and spoons. They sit cross-legged and live exactly what we're doing here, so they can feel for themselves that people in the past had a really hard life.
These traditional days at the school are a compulsory part of education on the island. The students, teachers, and any parents who come along must conform. This community came into existence only around 50 years ago. A few families split away from another community when resources on the home island were stretched by an increasing population. While Sioux Island is one of the youngest communities in the Straits, it seems to be making one of the greatest efforts to keep in touch with the past while taking advantage of the present. The arrival of one small sailing ship in 1871 was an event that transformed the Torres Straits. Where heavily armed warships had failed, a little boat called the Surprise succeeded in turning tribes of warlike headhunters into dutiful servants of the British Empire. Throughout the islands, little shrines shaped like boats commemorate what the islanders today call the coming of the light, the arrival of the first preachers from the London Missionary Society.